I got the moves. I got the moves. I'm making moves. You gotta move. You gotta make the city move. Like, whoa. I make the city move. I got the move.
Shockwaves was sent through the NBA yesterday after Kawhi Leonard boldly decided to join the Los Angeles Clippers, and only minutes after that decision, Woj dropped another nuke as the Clippers retrieved Paul George from OKC. I've talked about the effects this move has had on the Clippers, so now it's time to focus on the Thunder's unfortunate situation and the harsh reality they must now face due to this trade. If you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe for more NBA content. But with that being said, let's talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. As we all know now, the Clippers traded for Paul George in a massive historic deal. As a result, for losing Paul George, the Thunder got back a huge stack of draft picks. The most notable are the 4 unprotected first rounders. They also got Danilo Gallinari, who's actually a decent player. He averaged over 17 points a game last season for the Clippers. And they also got a young up-and-comer, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who should be a good piece if they wish to rebuild from this. The Clippers obviously won this trade by a large margin, but do credit the Thunder, they got a pretty good deal out of this. If I had to grade it, I'd probably give them a B, maybe a B+, depending on how well this team performs in the future. But I've seen a lot of NBA fans actually quite confused over why all of a sudden the Thunder decided to trade Paul George. It seemingly came out of nowhere, and after a pretty successful season, to some it didn't make a lot of sense. Here's why it happened, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. Kawhi Leonard reportedly asked Paul George to go play with him in LA on the Clippers, and he wanted PG to try do everything to get there, so Paul George went to OKC and requested a trade to the Clippers. The Thunder's hands were tied and had to make the most out of a bad situation, and they granted George's wish. The Thunder also reportedly offered Paul George and Russell Westbrook to the Raptors for Pascal Siakam and others, but the offer was rejected. This now leaves the Thunder in a really sticky situation. They still have a superstar in Russell Westbrook and a bunch of young talent around him, but we've seen how poorly a team built around Russ succeeds. Last time the Thunder did this, they finished as a 6th seed and were immediately knocked out by the Houston Rockets. Now the Western Conference is even more stacked, with teams like the Lakers and Clippers dominating the pack and many other teams trying to sneak their way past, like the Rockets, Jazz, Warriors, and even the Pelicans. If Westbrook was left by himself, I think it would be extremely hard for him and the Thunder to have any major success. You could even argue that they're not a playoff team. So now, there are rumors spreading that Russell Westbrook could get traded too this offseason. Russ has even met with Thunder GM Sam Presti to talk about his future with the team and the potential of him being traded, so the idea is clearly there. So, do the Thunder trade Westbrook or look for other options? In my opinion, I think they trade Westbrook. Though the team around Westbrook is quite deep, he's got players like Steven Adams and Dennis Schroeder as a pretty good supporting cast, the obvious lack of star players will cost them, so I think it's time to rebuild. And no, this isn't like the Clippers, who had no all-stars and made the playoffs this past year. They had a great coach and depth. Whilst the depth on the Thunder now is quite decent, their coach is absolutely awful. If the Thunder can't trade Westbrook, they need to, at the very least, fire Billy Donovan. He is not helping them at all. Anyway, back on track, let's talk about some Westbrook trade ideas. Whilst writing this script, I've been thinking of teams who might want Westbrook, but I could only really think of a couple of teams that would want to take him on, and one of them would be the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs, for some strange reason, are still holding on to Kevin Love, even though they are right in the middle of a rebuild. But holding on to him now may come in handy, as with rumors spreading that Westbrook could be on his way out of OKC, the Cavs might be able to scoop him up. In a trade that sends young pieces like Colin Sexton and maybe Kevin Porter as well as J.R. Smith, the Cavs could get Westbrook to pair up with Kevin Love. In a weaker Eastern Conference, this team could be a serious contender, as Russ and K-Love already have chemistry from their UCLA college days. they'd become another one of the many dynamic duos seen across the league now and could be a real problem for other clubs. The Thunder get younger with this deal and get some great pieces to start their rebuild. They get a shooter in J.R. Smith. The Cavs don't need Sexton anymore as they have Westbrook, so he adds to the value of the deal also. Overall, I really like the idea of this move for both the Cavs and the Thunder. The only problem is, how willing are either side to make this deal? Are the Cavs content with rebuilding even though it's becoming increasingly hard to tank? There's no news about what else was said with Westbrook and Sam Presti, so who knows if he's actually getting traded or not. Again, I personally really like the idea of this move, but who knows of the likelihood that it actually takes place. Another trade that many have been talking about today is Westbrook to the Miami Heat. This would be great for the Heat, as Westbrook would be the second star that Butler needs for them to actually be title contenders. I like the idea for the Heat, but not so much for the Thunder. I feel like they could get better assets somewhere else. I just don't think Justice Winslow as the key player in the deal would be enough to sway OKC. If the deal does go down, the Heat are favourites for Westbrook right now. I wouldn't be too surprised or mad, but I don't know. I just feel like the Thunder would be far better off trading with another team. The prospect of Winslow and others seems nice, but is it really worth losing Westbrook over? That's what the Thunder's front office needs to decide on. So those are my two trade ideas for the Oklahoma City Thunder if they wish to move Russell Westbrook. At this stage, I'm not 100% sure if they will, but unfortunately, they might just be forced into it. And if they do, I personally think the Cleveland trade would be the best for them, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Another thing that the Oklahoma City Thunder could do is trade for another star to pair up with Westbrook. This would unfortunately come at a cost, as they would have to most likely move Steven Adams in order to actually get something valuable in return. I've seen a few ideas floating around recently, even before the Paul George trade, so here are a couple I think could work. The first one would be bringing in Kevin Love from Cleveland. Instead of losing Westbrook, they could gain Kevin Love and add him to their team. Kevin Love doesn't fit in Cleveland's timeline at all, and moving him would actually be pretty good for Cleveland. They clearly don't need him in their rebuilding process, so why waste what's left of his prime? In return, I'd see them getting a valuable Steven Adams, who plays with all his heart the entire game. He never looks disinterested. He's a team player too. He doesn't really care about the touches, so long as he helps his team succeed. That's all that matters to him. So I think he'd be a pretty good fit in Cleveland. The Thunder could also add in a young player or two, maybe someone like Schroeder or Terrence Ferguson to sweeten the deal. Like I said earlier, with the Westbrook to the Cavs proposal, this is what I think the best option is going forward for the Thunder. But for this one, Sam Presti wouldn't have given up on his team yet. The last trade that I've seen quite a few people talk about is the potential of the Thunder moving Steven Adams to Boston for Gordon Hayward. I think this deal is very unlikely, as I don't think the Thunder will want to take on Hayward's contract, and seeing as Boston already has Enes Kanter, it's improbable that they'd want Adams too. But hey, if the Thunder want to keep Westbrook and want to add another star with him, this could be a last resort option, no matter how unlikely it is. Overall, here's the harsh reality for the Oklahoma City Thunder. After losing Paul George, they've been put into a hard situation. They have to decide whether they want to continue a legacy of first-round exits with Russell Westbrook, or if they want to start over and rebuild by trading away their stars. It's a tough one to be in, and they have to decide quickly what they want to do, because at this stage, they won't be making the playoffs with their current roster. I personally think they should trade Westbrook to Cleveland for their valuable assets if they want to rebuild, or take Kevin Love from them if they are still seeking contention, but only time will tell how they manage the harsh future they face. But that will conclude the video. What do you guys think about this? What should the Oklahoma City Thunder do next? Is it time to give up on Russell Westbrook? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.